What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Mikhael, and we have new Fabled support. Fableds are an old deck from back in the day that cared about being discarded, just like the Dark Worlds. However, unlike the Dark Worlds, Fableds did not care if they were discarded by a card effect, so they just wanted to be discarded in general, similar to the Dangers, and how the Dangers just want to be discarded in general. So, or they have the discarded in general effect, I should say. Anyway, first up, Fabled Marchasia. So, it's a level 4 light fiend effect monster with 1700 attack, 0 defense. You can only use this card's first and second effects per turn. If this card is in your hand, you can discard 1 or 2 monsters except for itself, but you must discard at least 1 Fabled, and if you do, special summon this card, and if you do that, this card gains 200 attack for each monster you discarded with this effect. If this card is discarded, you can add 1 Fabled spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So, I used to play Fableds, and I played this Fabled Dark World deck with BLS in it back in the day, and it was just this heavy OTK deck, and that's all it did. I think that I don't remember there being any good Fabled spell or trap cards, or them, being there anyway. But there is new support. Maybe we'll want to add one of the new cards instead. This card is fine for the deck. If you're wondering why they're light fiends, it's because they're supposed to be fallen angels. Anyway, little fun fact for the Fableds. And then the beasts are the fallen beasts and stuff like that. But anyway, kind of similar to Dark Lords. So yeah, that's interesting to know. This effect is good. Like I said, it just depends on if there's any good Fabled spell or traps. Next up is, speaking of beast, the Fabled Afnak. Light level 2 beast tuner effect monster with 1000 attack, 600 defense. Its effect is a hard once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard 1 Fabled monster, and if you do special summon it, or special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. There's ways around that, though. It may be a hard once per turn, but there's still ways around it. You can XD summon with it instead, make it level 2 or rank 2 XD's monster, and then it won't be banished. That's pretty neat. It's also a tuner, and Fabled's also, having more tuners in the deck isn't bad, considering that the way, if I remember correctly, most of the Fableds that are good aren't tuners, and that was one of the big flaws of the deck. So far, 2 decent support cards for the monsters. I just wish that they would draw cards, since you have to discard them. That's one of the main downsides of Fableds. They don't really have a way to draw a lot of cards, and that is why the the Dangers worked well in them. That's why the Dark Worlds worked well in them overall. But yeah, so far, they're 2 decent cards. Next up, we have a new Synchro monster for it, because that's what they were. They were a Synchro mechanic, or deck. Level 6, Light Fiend Synchro effect with 2400 attack, 1900 defense. It requires a Fabled tuner and 1 or more non-tuners. That's what all the Fableds say. You can only use its first and second effect once per turn each. If this card is special summoned, you can activate this card. You can activate this effect. Your opponent can discard 1 card to negate this effect. Otherwise, you draw 2 cards and discard 1. If a monster or monsters is sent from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, you can target one of those monsters, special summon it to the field, but its effects are negated. So, I think I would rather it just say the whole draw 2, discard 1. I get that it's supposed to work in tandem with the second effect. How, they discard like a monster, and then you get a special summon it. My only concern really is that my concern is that they're just going to discard a spell card, or in certain decks a trap card. They're not going to really care, or that the card you discard isn't the card they discard isn't really going to be as relevant, when you're making your plays in Fableds. So that's my concern with this card. Otherwise, it's okay. It's basically, it's like on par with the other Fabled monsters. They're not like their synchros aren't very good, and their main deck monsters, their saving grace before was that they just kind of throw themselves out, and they were good at like doing that at the cost of you losing a bunch of cards. So this card's okay. I think, like I said, I'd rather just have to draw 2, discard 1 personally, and then have the second effect theirs, and then another card that forces your opponent to discard, and stuff like that. Or, mutually draw, discard, stuff like a Dark World Dealings type effect for its second effect. But anyway, that's it. So next up is they have a field spell now. So, called Stairway to the Fabled World. Field spell. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. You can only use the second as well. You can only use the second once per turn. It's a hard once per turn. So, when this card resolves, you can send 1 Fabled monster from your deck to the graveyard. Okay, there's a few that care about being in the graveyard, like we saw at level 2. There's an old level 3 that wants to be in the graveyard that you can discard to add it back to your hand. It's another one. So yeah, Fabled monsters, some of them want to be in the graveyard. That helps set this up. Second effect, you can target 1 Fabled monster in your graveyard, discard 2 cards, and if you do, add the targeted monster back to your hand. So it's also kind of a way to search a monster too, since you can discard 2 Fabled, most likely, get their discard effect, add the one you sent back as well, and make plays that way. During damage calculation, if your Fabled monster is attacking an opponent's monster and you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, your attacking Fabled gains attack equal to the current hand size deficit times 200 during the damage calculation only. So what this means is like if you have no cards in hand because you're just discarding willy-nilly because you're Fabled and don't really have a way to like get card advantage, and your opponent has like 5 cards in hand, when you attack, they gain 1,000, which isn't a lot. Next up, Fabled Regicide. It's a metal name. Normal trap card. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Target 1 Fabled monster in your graveyard and 1 face-up card in the field. Discard 1 card, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster in your graveyard and destroy the targeted card on the field. Okay, that's pretty decent. The discard is not part of the cost, so that means that it does work with Dark Worlds if you want to do something like a Fabled Dark World deck, although the Fabled Dark World deck is a lot faster, and it's just a worse version of Fabled Dangers. Or not Fabled Dangers, but Dark World Dangers. Danger Dark Worlds. This trap card is decent, and the problem with the trap card is Fableds more or less should be played kind of like a combo deck. They're a very all-in type strategy since you have to use a lot of resources to do anything. So I feel like instead of this, like I said, they should have had ways to get them a lot of card advantage, because if you were to play, and like obviously just restrict it to the Fabled archetype, because if you were to play pure Fabled, you legitimately just tear through your hand and all your resources to do stuff. But anyway, that is it for now. I'm not going to say for today, because there might be another video uploaded today. Who knows? What do you think about the new Fabled cards? Did you play Fableds back in the day? Did you like this? So leave a like. Let me know if you like these cards or not. Leaving a like also lets me know if you like this type of video. Leaving a dislike lets me also know if you don't like this archetype or don't like this type of video. You do you. I'm not going to tell you how to do I'm not going to tell you how to do your life. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, but you liked, me and my analysis of these cards, please feel free to do so if you wish. Also, if it is your birthday today, happy birthday. If you want to send me any cool deck profiles or replays, the email to this YouTube account is in the description. Please feel free to do so. I would love to go and see your replays and stuff like that. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.